Hello and good morning. Holly Shields here, live from Kalkine studio in Sydney, and you're watching the Early Trades, a show where we share with you a glimpse of the Australian share market opening trade scene, along with the global and domestic drivers triggering the market momentum. So let's kick it off. Well, the Aussie share market opened the week on the front foot firmly at the open, with gains by the materials sector driving the overall gains. The S&P ASX 200 index rose 0.5%, while the mineral resources sector led the gains, rising 5.8%. Meanwhile, Eagers Automotive added 4.1%, and Unibail Rodamco Westfield advanced a similar 4% as well. Pro Medicus added 3.3%, and IGO advanced 3% similarly. Plus, Origin Energy rose an identical 3%. Now for a look at the losers from the opening trade, well, Kogan.com dropped 4.2%, St. Barbara 2.8%, and Afterpay 2.4%. The mood of the global equity markets remains constructive despite Friday's mixed finish in the US. Fresh highs on Wall Street will act as a magnet for the Australian benchmark as the economy regains speed following lockdowns. The S&P ASX 200 has more than 200 points to make up before it reaches its old August mid-peak. While the market lost momentum towards the end of last week, but looks likely to test a one-month high this session. BHP and Rio Tinto rallied in European and US trade as iron ore rebounded. All this as inflation data and corporate earnings look likely to set the tone this week, as the economic calendar thins towards the end of the month. Wednesday's quarterly consumer price index is expected to come in hot at 0.8%. A surprise in either direction will have complications for the central bank policy. And another news coming in from the Reserve Bank of Australia, RBA Deputy Governor Guy Debelle is due to testify before the Senate Economics Legislation Committee on Thursday. Retail sales and producer price figures are due on Friday as well. And another huge week of virtual AGMs is coming up. Today brings updates from Nick Scully and Argo Investments. Tomorrow's highlights include Regis Healthcare, Redbubble, Beaker Cheese, Polynova, and Pinnacle Investment Management Group. Then on Wednesday, we can expect updates from Woolworths, Whitehaven Coal, Blackmores, St. Barbara, Chorus, Nedwell, and Coden. Thursday will be Star Entertainment, South32, JB Hi-Fi, Corporate Travel Management, Challenger, Reese, Burrell, and Tassel Group. And then on Friday, we've got Sky City Entertainment, GWA, GUD, and carsales.com. The quarterly reporting season climaxes this week, and among the biggest names reporting include Evolution Mining, Northern Star Resources, Ramelius, Paladin Energy on Tuesday, Galaxy Resources, Sandfire on Wednesday, and Fortescue Metals, Ucrest, IGO on Thursday. Plus, we've got Origin Energy and Western Areas on Friday. Earnings are also likely to set the tone in the US at least until Thursday night's GDP report. This big tech week with the third quarter updates due from the likes of Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, and Facebook. Looking to the IPO side now, and a busy week kicked off with Eastern Metals at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time today. Eastern is a base and precious metals explorer with the Northern Territory and New South Wales government. The rest of the week currently looks like C29 Metals, GQG Partners, and Ramsense Tech to be listed on Tuesday, plus Star Minerals on Wednesday, Arnhem Resources, Green Tech Metals on Thursday, and Cooper Metals will be listed on Friday. Keep in mind that the listings are frequently subject to delays or cancellations. Now, before we look at some more important newsmakers, it's time now for a short break.
Hi there, James Preston for Kalkine TV. Are you into gaming and virtual reality? Does AI and the endless possibilities it entails capture your interest? Or are you constantly trawling through the web to try and discover the latest updates and innovations in the tech space? Well, let us do the work for you. From the latest product launches to shocking affairs on the World Wide Web, exclusive interviews and information about the top companies like Apple and Google to brand new tech startups vying for your attention. Kalkine's Tech Beat has the latest in what matters in the world of technology. Join me every single Thursday on the Tech Beat, exclusive to Kalkine TV.
Welcome back, Holly here, live from Kalkine Studio in Sydney. Let's have a look now at some more newsmakers from the opening bell. Well, Origin Energy has executed an agreement with global energy investor EIG to sell a 10% stake in Australian Pacific LNG for $2.12 billion. Following the sale, Origin will return a 27.5% stake in the business and retain its seats on the company's board. Mineral Resources says it has restarted operations at its joint venture in Wodinga lithium mine. The mine was placed on care and maintenance in November of 2019 because of the then weak global market conditions. To be restarted to safely produce spodumene concentrate during the third quarter of 2022. And Centuria Industrial REIT has entered into a contract to divest its 99 Quill Way Henderson property in WA for $10.5 million. The property is a over 16,000 square meter warehouse facility on a 3.2 hectare site, and is being sold as a vacant possession. Proceeds will be initially used to repay debt and settlement, and they're expected to occur in December of this year. Meanwhile, statewide lockdowns across Victoria and New South Wales have weighed on Viva Energy's sales volumes during the third quarter of the year. The company said retail fuel sales in both states was 25% down from the prior quarter, with sales of jet fuel also down by 31% as a result of border closures. And Telstra has partnered with the Australian government to acquire the Digicel business in the South Pacific for $1.6 billion. Plus up to an additional $250 million subject to the business performance over the next 3 years. Telstra will contribute about $270 million of equity to the purchase price, but will be the owner and operator as well. And Oznet Services has agreed to grant due diligence to APA Group after it entered into a confidentiality deed with the company, also granting Oznet reverse due diligence. This follows Oznet's announcement that it'll engage with APA in relation to its indicative, non-binding and conditional proposal to acquire Oznet for a combination 1.82 cash and 0.0878 APA stapled securities per share. Well, that's all for now on the early morning trades, but stick around to Kalkine TV because we have many more shows lined up for you today. Holly Shield signing off.